Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with number 92 in the series Viewers Games. If you would like your game to be analyzed and showcased on the Chess to Impress YouTube channel, then you can send your game to me by email to classroomchess64@gmail.com. It is the turn of Mayank. My name is Mayank Sharma. This game was very exciting to play as my opponent was rated 2087 and I was 1609. I was white and played in exciting fashion, says Mayank, and it's actually an over-the-board game. It's nice to get an over-the-board game now and then instead of an online game. It was played in the Delhi Open in the first round on the 9th of January 2019. And Mayank is white, as said, and his opponent is Soham Kamotra with a rating of almost 500 points higher than Mayank. Let's look at the game. Mayank opened e4, c6 the Caro-Kann from his opponent, and here d4 is the main move, and there are all sorts of other second moves. But Mayank plays bishop c4, and that is the 8th most popular option. d5, bishop goes back to b3, and that's a pawn sacrifice on move 3. d takes d4 is just possible, and it's not clear yet how white will get that pawn back. Very brave from Mayank. But his opponent plays e6, does not take on e4. d4, a5, be careful Mayank, don't get your bishop trapped. Mayank doesn't fall for that, he plays c3. d takes e4, now taking that pawn, and f3, Mayank insists on sacrificing a pawn. As I said, brave play against a much higher rated opponent. Bishop d6, black does not take on f3. g3, knight f6, bishop g5, and e3. Black does not accept the pawn sack, he does not take on f3. Queen e2, with the idea to take the pawn on e3. Black castled. f4, there's no rush in taking the pawn. Knight bd7, knight f3 developing. Queen b6 and knight a3. Mayank decides to leave the pawn on e3 alive for the moment and brings his pieces into the game. Here a big decision from black. He took on a3. B takes a3. Black has shattered white's pawn formation on the queen side, but gives up the bishop pair. It is a trade-off, and chess is a constant trade-off between certain advantages and disadvantages, which is a difficult skill to master. And obviously strong players are a lot better at it than weak players. a4, kicking the bishop back, bishop c2, queen a5 and queen d3. Defending c3 and setting up a nice queen and bishop battery, looking at black's king. g6, white did not threaten anything yet on h7, but it's a very human move to blunt the battery. Mayank castled. Knight g4, h3 kicking the knight back to f6, knight e5 and knight h5. This seems a good moment to take the pawn back, queen takes e3 and protect the g3 pawn which black has just attacked. White does not have to be afraid of the f6 move, that is not really a fork. Knight takes d7 is possible and then bring the bishop to safety. But after knight h5, white did not take on e3, Mayank played bishop e7, hitting the rook. Knight takes g3, also hitting white's rook on f1. Bishop takes f8, and an in-between move from black, a nice in-between move. There's a mate in one thread now on h1. So king h2, and only now did black take the rook. Rook takes, knight takes, and if we do a body count, black has now 2 extra pawns. Okay, white will very likely win that one, but he just sacrificed another pawn on g3. c4, hitting the queen, queen back to d8, and now white takes the pawn. White has some compensation for the pawn. All black's pieces are on the back rank, and especially the bishop on c8 is a bad piece. So some compensation for white. For the pawn he is down. Bishop d7 and knight g4. Wants to jump into f6 or maybe h6. f6 was played by black. Rook g1. Rooks want to be on open files. b5. And here c5 looks a good move to keep black's bishop a bad piece. But here Mayank played f5 and that is not a good move. Now black gets an advantage. E takes f5. As we'll see, black's pieces come to life now. Check. King g7 and bishop takes f5, making use of the fact that the g-pawn is pinned. Queen c7 check. Rook g3 and rook e8. Hitting the queen. Queen went to d2 and black took on c4. Bishop takes, knight takes and knight g4. Black has 2 extra pawns. He took that pawn on c4. His pieces are more active than a handful of moves ago, and also black's king is safer than white's. Black now has a series advantage. King h8, king g2 and f5. Here a nice move from Mayank. He did not retreat the knight. He played rook e3. Not bringing the attacked piece to safety, but using the fact that the rook on e8 is unprotected. Nice move. Rook takes, knight takes and queen d6. Here you have to be careful. Don't take that pawn on c4 because there is a double attack. Check and attacking the knight. Black wins a piece. King g1, queen takes c4. Mayank did not fall for that. He played queen c3. Knight f6. Now you can take on c4 because after queen d5 check, king h2, the knight is not hanging on c4. Knight e4, centralizing the knight, hitting the queen. Queen to b4 and c5. Queen b8 check. King g7, another check, and king to h6, and knight e5. The knight was hanging on c4. White is bringing his pieces closer to black's king. But black is winning. Mayank's opponent took on d4. Queen takes a2 check would have even been stronger, as it leads to a forced checkmate. Let's have a look at the variations. The simplest one is king g1. Then there's a mate in a few moves. Queen f2 check, king h1 and checkmate. Queen and knight is a lethal combination. If after queen takes a2 check, Mayank would go to h1, then the queen climbs the ladder. Queen b1 check, king h2, queen c2 check, slowly but surely coming closer to white's king. King h1, queen d1 check, king g2, queen e1 check, king h1, and one more check, and then the same checkmate that we just saw. So all that after knight e5, and then queen takes a2 check, leading to checkmate. But as said, Mayank's opponent took on d4. Knight f7 check, king h5, and queen to f4. And now white is threatening checkmate on h6. Very nice how Mayank found this resource, bringing a checkmate threat in a position, in a very difficult position for white. But unfortunately for our viewer, it doesn't work. Black can win the white knight with a series of checks. Black is going to pick up that loose piece with queen b2 check, king g1, another check, and another check, and now it's a double attack. Check, and the knight is attacked. King g1, queen takes f7. Black has won a piece, is also 3 pawns up, so Mayank threw in the towel here. But it was a wonderful game. I really like the bravery with which Mayank played. Against an opponent almost 500 points higher rated, it's very easy to try and swap pieces, try to simplify the position. Most of us play like that, but Mayank sacrificed a pawn, sacrificed another one, and really tried to take it to black. And that's probably the best way. If you play more cautiously, you will lose 99 out of 100 times. If you play bravely and go for it, then the odds are probably higher that you can get a draw or a win against a higher rated opponent. So well done, Mayank, thanks for sending in this game. It would be great if you could let us know in the comments how the tournament went for you. The Delhi Open, this was the first round, how did you get on? And once again, I think you played a great game. Hope you liked Mayank's adventure. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel and please leave a comment. If you liked the video, if you liked the Viewers Game series, it would be great if you could share it on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.